The final week of Overwatch League regular season qualifiers is just around the corner. This Saturday and Sunday, we're going to find out the fate of a couple of teams out west to decide what that final play-in picture is looking like. As of right now, 5 teams are locked into the play-in tournament, 3 have automatically made playoffs already, and then we have 3 that are fighting for their lives, that being the Gladiators, Justice, and NYXL. Those 3 are competing for the 2 remaining spots in the play-in tournament later this September. One of these teams is going to miss out on all the festivities and have to watch all of this from home as their hopes and dreams of winning a championship are completely snuffed out. This begs the question, what does the path to success look like for all 3 of these teams? What conditions need to be met if they wish to avoid this terrifying fate? Well, in today's video, I'm gonna go over all of the scenarios that could play out so you know exactly what your team needs to do or what they're hoping to happen in order to make the big dance. Let's start with a quick overview of where these teams sit in the standings currently as of this day. So right now, they all sit at 6 and 9 apiece, with NYXL leading the pack at 9th place with the lowest map differential at -6, followed by the Justice at -7, and the Gladiators trailing behind, currently on the outside looking in at -9. In other words, if the play-ins were to start right now, the Gladiators would be watching from home, and needless to say, this would be a tragedy just considering their roster, how big their fan base is, and the general expectations during the preseason. Between their significance in the league, as well as pretty much everything revolving around them, if we want any kind of chaos in the timeline, they're a good place to start with the path that they have to take. So, condition number 1 is to beat the Boston Uprising this Saturday. And this is a non-negotiable. This is a must-win game. If they lose, they're eliminated. If they win, it really doesn't matter the score. That is completely irrelevant. If they want to get in and have any kind of chance, it starts with beating the Boston Uprising. Obviously, a lot easier said than done. The only good news is, for 1, Boston lost, and 2, the LA Gladiators looked pretty good in their game against NYXL, but that doesn't exactly make you feel super confident because NYXL are obviously nowhere near the level of the Boston Uprising. So Gladiators fans, it really might take a miracle to get through, and you have to hope that what you saw last weekend against NYXL is just proof that your team is really, really good at this meta, instead of New York maybe just being okay. So yeah, in their biggest game of the season yet, in a must-win scenario, with all the pressure in the world, against one of the best teams in the league, the Gladiators have to come up big. And even then, nothing is guaranteed. This is simply step number 1 in hoping that they can make it through. Step number 2 is going to depend on NYXL and or Washington Justice. If Gladiators want to get in, they have to beat Boston, and then either Justice or NYXL, or both, have to lose their games. If they both somehow win their matches this weekend, then it doesn't even matter if the Gladiators 3-0 the Boston Uprising. Due to tiebreakers, there's just no way where they can physically catch up. With NYXL, their map differential would just be too great to overcome, as it'd be -5 to -6 even if Gladiators 3-0 the Boston Uprising, and in the case of the Justice, where they were to win in, let's say, a 3-2 scoreline, and the Gladiators 3-0 the Boston Uprising, they'd both be at -6, yes, but the Justice hold the tiebreaker over the LA Gladiators because they defeated them in a regular season head-to-head. So yeah, that random 3-0 L that you suffered a couple of months ago that you probably forgot about, yeah, it could actually end up being the difference between you going to the play-ins and being completely miserable. Gladiators by far have the tightest set of conditions. It's doable, it's mathematically possible, but man, is that a very, very large mountain to climb. With Justice and NYXL, they have quite a few more paths compared to the Gladiators if they want to get in. Like I said before, either of them can lock in through a win, or through a Gladiators loss. Alternatively, if the Justice win and NYXL lose, or vice versa, that is also a condition that can be met. But that's not all. There's other tiebreakers that could play into this thing. when looking at how these two would compare against each other if they both lost and the LA Gladiators win, then it becomes a numbers game. If the NYXL can simply hold a better map differential, then they're going to be the ones to get in by default. The NYXL, as mentioned previously, currently have a 1-map lead over the Justice, so by simply matching their final scoreline or doing slightly better in their loss, they're going to be the ones to get in as their map differential will remain higher. But if they slip up and let's say get 3-0'd by the Titans and the Justice just barely lose in a 3-2, then the Justice would end up surpassing the NYXL, and again, if Gladiators win, it would be New York watching from home, or bare minimum, they'd be the lower seed. Now, if both of these teams finish with the same map differential, like let's say NYXL lose in a 3-1 and the Justice lose in a 3-2, then it comes down to further tiebreaker complications. As mentioned previously, it goes map differential, then head-to-head. If both teams are still tied after that, which NYXL and Justice would be since they both beat each other once in regular season qualifiers, then it would come down to the third thing, which is head-to-head map differential in qualifying matches. And it just so happens that these two are tied in that respect too. So then it comes down to tiebreaker number 4. Strength of victory evaluated by combining records of all teams beaten in qualifying matches, and this is sadly where the Justice have NYXL beaten. You see, half of New York's wins this year come against the Valiant, in Vegas twice. Meanwhile, the Justice in their 6 wins have only played the Valiant in Vegas once each. See what I'm getting at here? NYXL have an extra 0-16 added to their total record with strength of schedule, and that gives them a complete disadvantage against the Justice, who just have more quality wins because of their schedule. In other words, if Gladiators somehow, some way won, and these two lost, it could literally come down to the exact scoreline with how they perform in their respective theoretical L's. But again, that's only if Gladiators win. If they lose, throw all of this out the window, and because they're playing Boston, there's a good chance that's gonna happen. But if they win, you never know. NYXL are playing the Titans, who are definitely beatable, but they could also lose to them quite badly because Titans are respectable, and Justice might be playing one of the hottest teams in the league in Toronto Defiant. So one of these guys could end up going home very sad if Gladiators somehow clutch up. Like, this weekend is going to be absolutely crazy. 2 of the big matches are taking place on Saturday afternoon/evening, and if Gladiators somehow win, then instead of it being over by Saturday evening, we could be stretching this out into Sunday, where either Glads or NYXL could be stressing out over this Justice game depending on what happens in their matches earlier in the weekend. This is an epic triangle of preying on somebody else's downfall. New York and Justice just want to be friends and watch the Gladiators tear themselves apart, but if that doesn't happen, suddenly they're going to go from best friends to worst enemies. This could end up being a really entertaining weekend. I'm hoping that it lives up to the hype, but either way, that's what you need to know about the Western play-in qualification. That is the road that Gladiators, Justice, and NYXL can follow to make it to the big dance. I know things are kind of crazy and maybe a little bit complicated, perhaps even headache-inducing, but I do hope this helped clear things up and it helps you get even more excited for the games to come. If you enjoyed the video and you're ready for the last weekend of regular season games, make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to my channel for more Overwatch League content. I've been ATP, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.